Welcome, and thank you for listening to the RTCC podcast, where we shine light on relevant college and career information every student and parent need to know. This is our third episode, and I'm so excited to have Camille Ehlers with us as we talk about the 5 power moves to a thriving career. Hi, Camille. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Hey, Robert. Thanks for having me. I am wrapping up the week pretty nicely.
Great. So, Camille, before we get started with talking about the 5 power moves to a thriving career, can you start by sharing with us what your role is at Uplift and some of the things that you're able to do?
So my official title is Director of Corporate Relations and Career Services with Uplift Education's Road to College and Career team. It's really exciting for me because this is a new department and a new team at Uplift, and we're really focusing on career development and exploration for our K-12 scholars and post-secondary support in terms of career services offered to our alumni once they matriculate to college and eventually graduate from college, and ensuring that they are finding sustainable, successful, happy careers that they really enjoy.
Awesome. Sounds like very exciting work, and also a lot that you're doing with your team to ensure that our scholars are best set up for a career.
Yes, definitely. It just brings me a lot of joy to think about like what all will come from this work that we're doing.
I'm really excited to have you on the show today, Camille, because we're going to be doing things a little different on today's show. For those of you who are listening, if you haven't already, please go watch our first virtual Parent Connect session with Jared Fitzpatrick from the Federal Bank Reserve of Dallas. He was gracious enough to offer his time this week to talk about his story, and then also provide some really great information about how to navigate a career and how to prepare for one. So on today's episode, we're going to be talking about the 5 power moves to a thriving career, which comes from his session. But please go back and watch his session, because he shares more of his story and more information and more resources that we won't have the time to cover. So throughout today's show, Camille and I will be playing clips from Jared's session and talking about what those comments mean and how they can apply to our scholars, but also to our parents. What's interesting about a career is that no matter what stage of life you're in, the things that we're going to be talking about apply to you and can definitely be served to help you in your career journey. So starting with the first power move to a thriving career, number 1 is mentorship can change the game.
And so I set a goal of becoming an optometrist, and I didn't really have a lot of examples of what an optometrist looked like. So I just reached out to people that either I'd seen as my doctor or who were just people in my community who were optometrists. And I reached out to their secretaries or just called their offices directly and asked them if I could shadow them. And to my surprise, most of them said yes. And so I was able to go and shadow optometrists and see what they did. The one thing that really helped me around this time was I had several mentors through my church who gave me advice on different scholarships. They also helped me to get letters of recommendation. They would either write them or suggest people that I could get them from. I also had a very helpful college counselor, high school counselor who helped me think about college and the different types of colleges that were out there. There's lots of people that you may not be thinking about as mentors that would love to help you. They just need to be asked. There's no right way to go about this when you're, a young person in high school, but just the same way that I reached out to optometrists and just asked if I could come and shadow them, there's very few people who would say no if you ask them because you want to learn more about what they do. And I think that's oftentimes something that's overlooked, is the power of just picking up the phone and calling people and asking, can I come and talk with you? Or can I come and shadow you? Or can I come volunteer with you? And so sometimes it's just about taking that initiative to go and reach out and find the people that you want in your network.
So Camille, Jared talks about mentorship here as one of the first moves to a thriving career. And what I really found fascinating about his journey is his experience of reaching out to professionals that he knew, maybe didn't even really know well. And he really hit on, that process of like job shadowing. And I just wanted to hear your thoughts on his take on that. And then, is there anything that maybe at an uplift that scholars can tap into that could help navigate them in that process?
Yes, I think what resonated with me is Jared's, his experience and understanding around the fact that some of your mentors and some of your supports might feel so normal. They might be just a part of your everyday life, whether it's someone in your family, an older sibling, a parent. Even sometimes the road to college and career counselors just seem like an embedded piece of our scholars' normal day-to-day life that they aren't even realizing the power of like some of that mentoring and what that mentorship is actually, how available it is for them. And so I think in terms of him being able to voice that and to share with our audience around like, it might be right in front of your face. So take a moment to reflect on who in your community, who in your church, who in your home, who in your school do you look up to? And do you have access to communicate some of your aspirations with them? Do you trust them? Do you feel comfortable talking about some of your aspirations or goals or even challenges? And I think that for me is very important. And also what Uplift in my team will be working on this year is really building out a formal job shadowing application process. So scholars will not only be able to attend career trips throughout the year and visit companies or explore some of those industries and positions, but they'll also get an opportunity to actually apply for a job shadowing experience. And then spend a day or spend some time during the day with a professional in an industry that they want to learn more about. And so I think our scholars are in a very unique place because they'll be able to have some of those opportunities before they're even stepping foot on a college campus, before they're even making decisions on what major to choose. They'll have like an upper hand to have some of that realistic experience that will support their dream.
Absolutely. Time and time again, when I hear from professionals and I hear from those in a career, mentorship keeps getting brought up. Even for myself, I wouldn't be where I am today without the mentors in my life. Mentorship can change the game, and it's definitely a power move to a thriving career.
So another power move that Jared discussed was, how the foundation was set for his career through education.
Education is an enabler for future earning potential. So unemployment rates and earnings tied to the level of education that you attain. The higher your education, the less likely it is that you'll be unemployed, especially around times like now when there's a lot of uncertainty, unemployment is increasing. People who have bachelor's degrees or higher, even associate's degrees, they're typically in jobs that are a little bit more stable. And so if you have less than a high school diploma, you're on average making about $500 a week. And you can see that if you get a bachelor's degree, that doubles. Right? And so this is not about the individual. It's really about their family and the long-term legacy that they're leaving. Because just think about that extrapolated out over a 30 to 40 year lifespan, which is about how long most people work, if not longer sometimes. And so, that money that you're making, when you earn that bachelor's degree, this is an average. You can make a lot more than that. And so you're setting up your family, your future generations for success. And the one thing that I want to encourage people who are listening to this to do is to not be so concerned about what you're going to do. Just make sure that you're moving forward and think about education as a platform to help you grow and build your career. But it doesn't necessarily have to be the end all.
And I think that's really interesting, the ideas that we're talking around today around like these power moves that lead to successful careers that you're able to earn the wage that you desire, the wage that you work really hard for and want. And so I think it's just really important to know, like in his conversation, he talked around like the foundation for that. You don't just wake up into the career or the trade or the program that you want. It takes work and it takes steps to get there. So I think, centering his conversation around the foundation of education being that connecting piece, and just knowing that we work in a school environment that is dedicated to providing that academic and support for scholars, coupled with career aspirations, college aspirations, military aspirations, certification and trade aspirations. So while scholars are gaining this academic knowledge and rising through each grade level, they're also connecting that support to what their long-term career goals are. So education is definitely the foundation for all of this work that we're doing in terms of long-term career goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what hits home for me is education gives you options. Like, and I think, and it could be maybe a little scary or maybe a little weird to hear when someone says like, it's okay if you don't have it figured out now. It's okay if you don't know what you want to do now, because there is so much pressure that is put on our seniors and our juniors, and even those who are still in college, to have an answer, right? It's like, oh, where do you want to go to school? Oh, I want to go to Texas A&M. Oh, what do you want to do? I don't know. And so I think sometimes there's that pressure to like have an answer and have a direction. And I find it very comforting that he says, it's okay if you don't know. And to his point, what he went to school for isn't what he's doing now.
Exactly, Robert. And, you lead us right into our third power move. Jared discusses like the fact that no matter what job you have, there are 3 vital skills that he recommends to ensure that you are set up for success in whichever career path that may be.
Let's hear what Jared has to say about those.
I talked about time management, and really what I mean there is dependability. Showing up on time is not enough. You got to show up a few minutes early. Make sure that you're prepared whenever you do show up, and that's part of time management. So it's doing the work ahead of time so that when you actually get there, you're able to contribute. The second skill that I'll talk about is resourcefulness. I've highlighted this a few times, but I really can't stress it enough that there's people who come to me or to others with problems, and that's all they come with. And those type of people I don't think of as very resourceful, because what I really want is don't just identify the problem, but think about some solutions. So when you come to me, it's, hey, I figured out this problem that we have, and here are some ways that we can fix it. That way, it's not about, us having to stop everything that we're doing. It's, oh, okay, well, just let's go and fix the problem. Then the third and probably the most important thing is communication. Just like I'm doing now, you have to be able to articulate your thoughts clearly and help people to understand why you're coming from a specific position, and persuade them to understand, why they may need to be able to be flexible and change the way that they think. But more than just talking, it's also about listening, and listening to understand their perspective. Because if you're just listening to respond, it normally doesn't help you build that relationship. And ultimately, a lot of this just comes back to maintaining good relationships with people so that they trust you. And when you have that trust that you can build, you can accomplish all kinds of things.
I'm really glad that Jared mentioned skills like communication, the ability to communicate, coupled with some of the other soft skills that Jared mentioned, particularly around building relationships, gives you the leverage to be able to ask for support, even if you aren't the most excellent communicator. If you've established a relationship within your school, your community, or within the company or industry that you're working in, you can ask for supports to enhance your communication skills, to practice your presentations, to practice opportunities to public speak. And I think those things go very much hand in hand, knowing when to ask for support and when to use your skills to support another skill that you want or that you are working on building.
Even if you are going for a career that is perhaps like engineering or a data scientist or, something that would be more technical, even in those positions, you're talking with executives, you're talking with leadership, you're talking with a team, you're conveying ideas. When you think about engineering and you think about data, you have to help people understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. So no matter what you decide to do, communication is going to be involved, which leads us to our next power move, and that's sharing your story and understanding that your story is powerful. It's so important that as you navigate the workspace, as you go about being a leader in your community, to show up as who you are and to be confident in your background, be confident in the various elements that make you, you. So let's hear what Jared had to say about that.
That is by Henry Ford, which I think is very well, known. But at the time, it was the first time I'd heard it. And it says, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And so it was just instilling that mindset of you have to believe in yourself because there may not be anybody else who believes in you. That the mindset is incredibly important. And that was a lesson that I learned when I was younger, but it helped to shape the way that I went about things in high school and beyond. And the key thing that I wish someone had told me years ago, but I'm just really learning, is the power of your story is incredible. And so learning how to tell your story effectively to people, because you never know who might be impacted by that story.
In Jared's presentation, he really is an advocate for diversity and inclusion, and having that expertise and having that context is so real. It really resonates for me in my own experience, just knowing that as a young professional, as a young woman of color, having that piece tied to my success. And as I moved up and changed careers and was able to see and do many things, it was only because of that inclusion and those people that believed in me along the way and were able to support me as I navigated my career. So I really, really, truly am thankful for positions that Jared, like Jared has in companies and organizations. We see so often diversity and inclusion being on the front lines of so many companies' efforts these days. And just knowing that Jared is behind the scenes and one of those people that is advocating for people like me, people like our families, and people like our scholars and their families, it really, really makes what he was discussing hit home so much stronger for me.
Absolutely. And I know there are many listeners right now where that is resonating. And it's something that we crave and something that we look for, whether that be for a college campus, that'd be an academic program, that'd be a place of work. We want to be seen. We want to be seen for who we are. And we want to be able to show up as who we are without judgment. And I think that naturally ties to the last power move that we'll be talking about today. And that is goals must be accompanied with action. Let's listen to what Jared had to say about that.
There's a quote that I always, either end with or articulate sometime through the call, but it's a quote by Greg Reed, and it says, "A dream when written down with a date becomes a goal. A goal when broken down into steps becomes a plan, and a plan backed by action makes your dreams come true." And so I really encourage people to don't just talk about what you want to do, write it down and set a date for the day that you want to accomplish that goal, and then figure out what steps do I need to take from day one, which is today, to the day when I said I'm going to accomplish that goal. to make it a reality. And you'll be surprised how much easier it will be to accomplish those goals when you just take it day by day and work on it little by little.
He spoke so much of our career development language, I should say. In those last sentiments, we are working currently at this exact moment on building out workshops and activities and curriculum that we can implement around setting goals, around setting SMART goals, around tying academic goals to long-term success, and how to couple that with career aspirations. The true key really lies in that individual power to kind of harness some of that, take advantage of some of that, and take those steps towards attaining that stuff, and attaining and achieving those goals, so that they're not just ideas, but they're steps on a map and on a road to achieve the goal that they desire.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Which is why I love that we have career exposure at Uplift, and you are leading those efforts to provide those experiences for scholars, because it can be through a visit to an architecture firm, or a visit to the federal bank, or a visit to SPCA that triggers a spark for our scholars of saying, wow, this is actually pretty cool. And I didn't know there was a job where people can just do this every day. And from there, it starts them thinking, oh, well, maybe this is what I want to do. Or, hey, maybe I want to learn more about this to see if this would be feasible for me. And then it's through that process that we're walking scholars through of, okay, next step would be perhaps a job shadow, or maybe next step would be, what does a college education look like for a job like this? And it really helps students along that journey of navigating college, but also their career, which is, I think, essentially what Jared was hitting on with his quote of, starts with an aspiration, it starts with a passion. From there, map out a plan, those steps to see it through, to see it come alive. That brings us to the end of today's show. Camille, it was so much fun having you on the pod today as we discuss the 5 power moves to a thriving career. Are there any thoughts that you want to leave with our listeners today?
I really am thankful that you invited me on the show today, Robert. If you're listening out there and you have any questions related to career exploration or some of the services that we'll be offering next year, or if you're listening and you want to join in or you want to support the career exploration or services, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. We are eager to hear from you, and you can contact us at careerservices@uplifteducation.org.
Thank you so much, Camille. I definitely look forward to when we can do this again.
Thanks for having me.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening to today's episode. You will find details mentioned today in our show description. If you have any questions or would like information on what we discussed, please email us at rtcc@uplifteducation.org. Also, we understand navigating life, wellness, and education may be a challenge right now. We at Uplift want you to know you're not alone. We are on this journey together. And to help you stay informed, please visit uplifteducation.org/COVID-19, where we post all the updates and information you need to know. As a reminder, please do not forget to tune in next week for our new episode. Until then, be well and shine through.